candidates night. I'm Michael Cantwell, the president of the Democratic Club of Delray Beach. And you'll see that there are only Democrats on your screen. By our bylaws, we can only have Democrats at these candidates nights. So we're gonna start in a minute, but first we have a tiny bit of club business to take care of. And then I'm gonna have David give you a rundown of the Zoom setup for anyone who's unfamiliar. But first, Rob, do you want to do the business of the slate of candidates for our elections?
Sure, I could do that. Good evening, everybody. The nominating committee is still putting together the final slate because we want to open it up to the floor, to the club as a whole, for anybody that wants to add any additional nominations, self-nominations, what have you, and you're welcome to submit those. The vote is not tonight, so you have time to submit those. The committee is preparing and would, in the absence of any additional nominations that may come in, planning to offer the slate as president, Michael Cantwell; as treasurer, David Kulik; as vice president, Charlene; as secretary, Sandy Eliason Cantwell; and myself, Robert Resnick, as parliamentarian.
Okay, so you can in the chat or Q&A, if anyone wants to submit their names, that's fine. The vote is not until our March meeting. So, and in order to vote, you have to be a club member for at least 45 days. So let me just explain how we're going to be conducting this forum, and then I'll turn it over to David so you can know how you will be participating. Rather than have a bunch of set questions for the candidates, which we did last year and which the Northwest Southwest Alliance put on Monday, we're going to have opening statements from each of the candidates, 3 minutes, and at the end, closing statements, 2 minutes. In between, there'll be questions maybe from some of us or anybody that is attending, and I guess you can submit those questions either through the Q&A or the chat. I'm going to let David explain the details of that. 4 questions. The questions can either be directed to all of the candidates, what are your priorities for such and such, or to a single candidate. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond, and 30 seconds if other candidates want to comment on what was just said. I think that pretty much covers it. David, do you want to just give them a rundown? And actually, I guess we didn't set an order for opening and closing statements, which we should have. So why don't we start with the mayor and then do it alphabetically by last name? So it'll be Shelley, Adam, Mitch, and Price. Okay, over to you, David.
All right, I'm hoping everybody's used Zoom a few times. Usually, depending on the device, in the upper right-hand corner, if you move the mouse up there, there's an option for view. You can switch between speaker view and gallery view and speaker view. You pretty much see whoever is currently talking in the big picture and everyone else around them. As for asking questions, you can either type it into Q&A. We'll keep an eye on it. If you want to tell us who it's going to, do so. And if you really want, you can raise your hand. Depending on your device, it's a little different for each hand, how to raise your hand. And a lot of them, it's just at the bottom. On some of them, it's in the more button. Find how to raise your hand. And if you can speak, we'll make it so you talk. Your picture will be there if you want, if your camera's on. So make sure, the background's not something you don't want everybody on earth to see. That's pretty much about it.
I'm not seeing the raised hand, and Shar asked me about that the other day, down at the bottom
It
of my
works differently
screen.
for panelists. If you're a panelist, you don't get it like that.
Oh,
You
okay.
just talk
Yeah.
and talk. Okay, good. Let's go.
All right. So Shelley, and Rob is going to be timekeeper. He will gently remind people when 15 seconds is left.
He's just going to hit the mute button.
That happened the other night, not so gently.
Okay, go. Everybody else, please hit the mute button if you're.
Okay, Shelley, you're up. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. I just saw. You have to unmute.
Thank
we
you.
go.
All right. Thanks for that. First of all, I want to say thank you guys so much for doing this. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to get together and get the information out to the Democratic Club as to what we stand for, and answer questions that are on the minds of the constituency. So thank you, everybody, for putting this together. My name is Shelley Petrolia. I was born and raised in I'm mayor of Delray Beach. I was born and raised in Palm Beach County, second generation. So I'm one of the old ones that are around here. My children, I'm raising my children here. They're the third generation, married to my husband for 27 years. His name is Tony. And we do have our four boys together. We partnered in real estate, and we were in real estate for almost 30 years now. So we partnered before we actually married. We were recognized as leaders in our industry. We've rehabbed homes, regular homes. We've rehabbed historic homes locally. So we're big on the historic preservation. We have large historic preservation interests. I graduated from Florida State University with a BS degree, double majoring in finance and risk management insurance. 3 of my 4 boys are currently attending Florida State, I'm proud to say. So I got some FSU Seminoles in the house. I briefly worked in insurance after I came out of college, but I found my way into my mom's profession, which was real estate, pretty quickly thereafter, and I found it much more to my liking. So that's where I landed, met my husband, and got married. And then subsequent to that, home ownership does kind of interesting things to people. It makes you kind of look at what's going on with your with bills and taxes and things like that. All of a sudden, I was in that world, and recognizing that Delray Beach had some of the highest taxes around. My husband and I found a wonderful home here, and we just couldn't believe what we were paying. So I started paying a lot more attention to government, got involved with my homeowners association, which was Tropic Isle at the time. So I served on that board for many years. And we kind of lobbied together to get things done in our what do you call it, canals and whatnot. I currently serve as a board member for the CRA, and I chaired that board for 2 years, ushering in the transition of going from an independent board for, I want to say it was probably close to 30 years, to the board that we have now, which is comprised of
15 seconds.
Okay, 5 members. I'm also on the Planning Transportation Authority Board, Housing Leadership Board, Resiliency Florida Coalition, and a member of the Delray Beach Medical Center's Board of Directors. It's been my honor to serve as the mayor. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Shelley. Adam?
Michael, thank you very much. It's very nice to see everyone this evening. My name is Adam Frankel. I've been a city commissioner now in my 4th term, seeking my 5th. I have been coming to the city of Delray Beach since 1982, when my grandparents had a place in Shady Woods off Lytton Boulevard. And then they later moved, along with my parents, to Rainberry Bay, where I spent many years. And I actually lived there for several years with some former presidents of this club. I'm sure you know Jay Slavin and also Sam Lender, who helmed this club for many years. Don't tell anyone I broke the over 55 rules, but that's where I lived when I was in the Palm Beach County Public Defender's Office, where I started my legal career here in Palm Beach County in 1999. I served there for 3 years, and then thereafter I opened up my own law firm. I have been focused on democratic issues my entire life. I grew up with my mother taking me to picket lines in Toledo, Ohio. She was very active in the teachers union in the city of Toledo, where she was a teacher and a media specialist for over 31 years. And my father also was very active in unions as an attorney in the city of Delray, or I'm sorry, in the city of Toledo. Like I said, I moved to the city of Delray Beach in 1998. I've been involved in many of the Democratic parties locally here. I've been active in campaigns for commission candidates and statewide offices and county offices, and I'm sure I'll go into that a little bit later. There's many issues that we've been asked to address. So some of the issues I hope we cover tonight will be some taxes. I've always been the strongest advocate for lowering the millage during my terms as city commissioner. I've always focused on leading with civility and respect. I think the employees, if you speak to them, they will absolutely tell you that we've always had a very good relationship. I've had a great relationship with our police and fire. I was the only non-police, non-fire chairman of their pension fund before it was split up a couple of years ago. Some of my other issues going forward is focusing on uniting Delray from I-95 to the beach. We've done a great job with that in the last couple of years. It's acting as CRA members, but there's certainly more work to do. I've been the strongest proponent of getting large delivery trucks off Atlantic Avenue to make traffic downtown a lot better. We've also addressed parking issues. I've also now, for the last year, focused my attention on the aggressive panhandling issues.
15 seconds.
Thank you, sir. In our downtown. We're going to be having some public meetings about that later this month, and I look forward to addressing some of these and the other issues as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. I guess Mitch is next.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be back here to the Delray Beach Democratic Club. Thank you for hosting this, especially with everything going on and still being able to do it virtually. I think this is really important. Good evening. My name is Mitch Katz. I am running for Delray Beach City Commission seat 3. The only one up here tonight, seat 3, so people know if they're paying attention which seat we're running for. My wife Heather and I are raising our 2 children here, and I care deeply about the future of our city. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and kind of how I got here, and particularly the Democratic Club. I didn't have the easiest childhood. When I was 5 years old, my mother divorced, and my father, myself, my sister, we moved here to Florida, and we basically had nothing. We actually slept on the floor, some air mattresses for a few months, borrowed silverware from our neighbor and plates until my mother could get a job to get everything out of storage. And you know, she was my role model. I had no father as a role model growing up. My father didn't pay child support, but my mother was an outstanding role model, and she worked hard to provide for myself and my sister. As a child, she enrolled me in scouting, where I learned my life lessons and leadership skills, earned my Eagle Scout rank, and I learned as a scout to collaborate and work with others, work in teams, and that really helped me when I served on the commission. After high school, I went to community college, but I had to drop out because I worked 2-3 jobs. You know, and then my mother passed away when I was 25, and I kind of really had to grow up. I was very lucky. I met my wife, Heather, and we married this wonderful woman and had 2 beautiful children. And I decided I was going to go back to school, and I earned my bachelor's degree and then my master's degree. And I started getting involved in city interests, in particular my homeowner association. In 2015, I ran for the city commission, and I served until 2018. For the last 3 years, I've sat back and watched my opponent serve himself, his business, his friends, his contributors over the interests of our residents. I decided that Delray Beach public servants who deserve public servants who serve the public, and I would honor to be that person once again. When I was a commissioner, I know, like I said, from firsthand, I know what the position entails. When I was on the commission, we reduced the tax rate every single year while improving the fire, police, and infrastructure services. We were able to reduce the number of sober homes, which resulted in 80% reduction in overdoses, opiates, which was huge. Made sure started listening to the residents. And I've
15
demonstrated
seconds.
my leadership in many ways. And I'm sure I'll get to tell you a little bit more about that later, but I've been involved in public service, the Democratic Party, my entire life, and I'm be looking forward
Time.
to earning your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Price.
I guess
You're
I'm batting cleanup here.
Yeah.
My name is Price Patton. I'm running for seat 1 on the Delray Beach City Commission. I moved here 33 years ago, and when I would ride my bike down Atlantic because there's no traffic on it, you'd go to Old School Square, which is crumbling. There was rusty chain link fence surrounding the structure. A lot has changed. A lot has changed since then. I have had the pleasure of serving for 2 terms on the Historic Preservation Board. And I think we did some good things there. And now I'm currently on SPRAB, which is being challenged by some of the aggressive Central Business District projects coming in. So I've learned a lot about how at least the Development Services Department in the city works. Like the mayor, I've been involved in preservation. I probably picked it up from my wife, who picked it up from her mother. My wife, Carolyn, is a native of Delray Beach. She was involved in preserving the Sandway House Nature Center. Then I have also been involved in saving houses. We actually moved a 96-ton house from Northeast 7th over to the CRA building, which is going to be repurposed as office space. I've been involved at Paul's Place. I give back. I've been involved in Paul's Place after school program. I tutor Haitian kids from the Southwest neighborhood. I serve on the scholarship committee. We're able to proudly have put now 2 kids into college that have never, they're the first ones in their family to go to college. And right now I'm working in an effort to preserve the original Carver High School, which was one of the few remaining all-black high schools left. I spent 22 years at the Palm Beach Post in editor capacity, and I'm a founding partner of the Coastal Star, which serves coastal residents here. I do not have the Democratic lineage that Adam does, but I have been a lifelong Democrat. And I first voted for Hubert Humphrey for president. I last voted for Joe Biden, and I voted for every Democrat in between. I think I love this city. I love giving back, and I'm really eager to serve. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Price. I'm not seeing any questions from our audience here. Am I missing something? David? I find that pretty.
I saw Joy and June have
Hands up, okay.
hands up. So
All right.
You want to go to Joy?
Yeah. And then June. Yeah, you're right. I see there's the hands up.
And Arlene, they're pouring in now.
Good. Oh, yeah.
Joy, you have to unmute yourself, I think, but
Okay.
we've unmuted you from this side.
Okay, can you hear me?
There you are.
Yeah.
Just a question for Adam Frankel and Price Patton. Could you give us your synopsis of development for Delray, particularly the downtown area over the next, 3 years of your term?
Michael, make an order.
Who goes?
Now, just dive in. Price, you want to start? You were.
As a member of the SPRAB board, we deal almost exclusively with Central Business District issues. We have some really, really good projects coming online. The Ray is going to be a magnificent hotel. They came in, I don't think they might have had one variance or one waiver. Menon has completely redone the old Sun Bank, which is a beautiful project, and they've got a sister project across the street. I don't think we want to canyonize Atlantic Avenue. That is one of our more cherished vistas. I would be strongly inclined to keep the height limit to 3 stories on Atlantic, push the development south and north.
15 seconds.
But it's always reasonable development, because the town's built out, and in some instances, the only way to go is up, and that might not be the best solution.
Adam,
Sure, thank you. Do we have 1 minute for the answer?
1 minute, yeah.
Great. Joy, thank you very much for your question. For the most part, Price and I agree on this. And my voting record for the last several terms have indicated this. No one's looking for skyscrapers downtown. I am in total agreement with Mr. Patton that Mr. Menon is doing amazing things. Although he doesn't have the SunTrust Bank building, he's building just to the south of it. He's got the food hall that is going to be an amazing, amazing project, the biggest food market in the state. And he's using green walls. He's using local workers. He's doing everything sustainable. I think it's going to be a great attraction. I don't think any of my colleagues want any big monstrosities, not only in our central business district, but throughout the city.
15 seconds.
Thank you. So I would be in agreement for the most part. We like the charm of our downtown business district, and I'd like to keep it that way. Thanks for the question.
Okay, does any of the other candidates want to comment on that before we move on to the next question? Okay, let's move on. You want to unmute Arlene?
Arlene, you're unmuted. Click, yeah.
Thank
unmute.
you. Can I be seen? Oh,
Your
okay.
video isn't on, or you could be.
Yeah. You should have a thing down on the bottom
Yeah,
of your screen to open the video.
Oh, okay. I don't want to fuss with it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for holding this. I'm very pleased to be here. My concern is Delray is just not downtown. And this is a question for all the panelists. What are your plans for racial equity in Delray Beach in terms of inclusivity, housing, jobs, education, infrastructure?
Okay, just jump in. I'd rather not assign an order. So Shelley, you just raised your hand. Why don't you start?
Thanks. Okay, so let's talk about this. I think that where we need to really start focusing, we have been doing things with the CRA in order to be able to try to get more housing on the market that's affordable. That was something that changed up with the new CRA group as far as really making that a priority and a focus. We have 10 houses coming out of the ground and 20 more on attractive land. But more importantly, businesses in the area that want to do business in a bigger way, like with the city, it's very difficult for those that are coming from there's a disparity. So we are actually moving forward with a disparity study that will allow for those that are minorities, women-owned businesses and small business, women-owned businesses, in order to be able to get a leg up. And that's something that we have to do in order to be able to level off the playing field.
Time.
I'll jump in. I think the CRA is in a very strong and financially sound position to work to create racial equity and eliminate the inequities in the infrastructure in the streets of the southwest and northwest neighborhoods. I've been involved for 3 years in the effort to preserve Carver High. It looks like the CRA may end up buying it. I mean, getting it from the school district. And with Carver High, it could be a renaissance in the Southwest neighborhood, giving the residents pride in
15 seconds.
what was an incredible school and some incredibly vibrant and civil rights leaders in the history of Delray Beach. Thanks.
Adam?
Arlene, thank you for the question. Actually, as the mayor said, we have requested a disparity study. We need that information. Although we have a good idea what's going on, I think once we have the study completed, that'll give us a better roadmap on how to actually act. Also, the director of our CRA, Renee Jadazin, this has been a priority for her, and she's done an amazing job since she's been promoted to that position. And also in development in the Northwest and Southwest neighborhoods, having local hiring preferences, not just giving a job, but using individuals that live in the neighborhoods, give them skills to have a career going forward. Those are just some of the ideas that we have used going forward, and I think it's worked well. So that's just a couple of the points I had for that. Thanks.
Okay, I guess I'm last. So this is actually a very important subject. Thank you, Arlene, for asking this question. And I think to reiterate, the mayor said the CRA has done a great job recently, and what Adam said with the disparity study and moving in the right direction when it comes to buildings and what have you in construction. But we have a serious education problem and a serious poverty problem in our city. Something I say a lot: poverty begets poverty, and there's only one way out of poverty, and that's through education. And while we aren't the school board, we can have a lot of influence over the dollars that are being spent, our tax dollars that are right now being sent to other cities, and really pushing the school board to move those tax dollars back into our city.
15
and then
seconds.
Things that we can do as a city better to invest in our children, to really help get them and give them that leg up, because that's really the only chance we have is through education to help the future generations of our
Time.
Thanks, Mitch. David's going to see if he can do something so we get all of the what he calls the Hollywood Squares version.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I have this option. So if your screen jumps suddenly and you now see everybody, that's
don't be
I just
scared.
clicked that button. So theoretically, now you may all be able to see everybody at one time. If not, you should have the option view. Zoom is changing things like constantly, so they're making things better. So somewhere in the upper right, you should have an option, if you move the mouse over it, to switch your view between speaker view and gallery view. So hopefully you can do that. Otherwise, you get to look at Michael.
No, that's just okay. All right. Well, let's go to the next question. David, you have, I think it's June or Joe is next with the question. Yeah, Joe Feldman.
Right. Hi. I'm I live here in Delray Beach, and I love that our reputation is the village by the sea. I've been here for 18 years, and all I've seen is more and more big buildings, big buildings, big buildings. Is the city government doing nothing to preserve our village by the sea reputation? All along Federal, now Swinton, they're talking about knocking down buildings, the adorable drive-in. What's the city doing to keep our city, the village by the sea? I mean, are we just selling out to big developers?
I'll go. Ms. Feldman, I've been involved in historic preservation for many, many years. And we have 5 historic districts. We have about 15 or 20 historic houses that have a certain level of protection. And they're all around town. I would advocate getting more. We're talking about a frog alley, which would extend south along Southwest 7th Avenue. which would bring some, again, like we were talking earlier about Southwest revitalization. It would bring some new life into the Southwest Fifth Corridor. And at some point, maybe, we could
15 seconds.
we should actually be getting more buildings on the historic register, because that is one way to preserve the quality of this town and its village by the sea.
Time.
Anyone? Mitch?
Sure. Thank you again. Great question. And that's, talk about a lot. This village by the sea is what a lot of us who moved here many years ago fell in love with. And while that's inevitable, we're going to have change. There's right now, we're averaging almost 1,000 new residents moving to the city. Since I ran 6 years ago, we went from 65,000 to 72,000 residents. The problem is we're building, and forgetting about, or ignoring sometimes our residents, the people that are here that chose the character. And we have to work together to try to maintain that character that we love. Otherwise, we're just going to push out the people that are here. And yes, new people will move in, but that's not the right thing to do. We have, Price mentioned, we have historical districts.
15 seconds.
But we need to do a better job as incentivizing, finding the money in our budget and finding the money with tax incentives to be able to incentivize the homeowners to want to become historical, to get that historical preservation designation.
Time.
Thank you. Adam?
Thank you, Michael. This is definitely a challenge. We are known as the Village by the Sea, and that's become a reason why the city has become so popular. And I think myself and other members of the commission throughout the year have been very careful not to allow big high rises. I think we've allowed smart development. As we talked about earlier, Mr. Menon, who is building a wonderful food hall, the Ray Hotel. Now, we just approved on first reading last week a great apartment complex on Linton with 20% set aside for workforce housing, for police, for fire, for teachers. And also, Mr. Patton brought up Frog Alley. That was one of the things we fell in love with the BH3 project in the Northwest Southwest neighborhoods.
15 seconds.
They shied away from that. They came back with a different proposal, but as the CRA board, we pushed back because the Frog Alley concept would be beautiful. So I think there's challenges, but we're trying to stick fast to not have overdevelopment. Thank you.
Shelley?
All right, I'll bring it home. Okay, so I have to say that I believe that we approve too much. I know I say a no to a lot and I say yes to some things, but I think that we are just, selling out. I think that we are at a point now where we can actually be selective as to who we want to see or what we want to see in this town. Now, that doesn't go to anything that's being built within the parameters of our LDRs, our land use regulations. So we have to allow this to happen if it's within. However, outside of that, we can say no. The most important thing that I think that we've got to preserve, because it's something that everybody who comes into our town sees and falls in love with, is our downtown. I am trying to work towards getting an overlay on that downtown section, Swinton to the Federals, in order to be able to make sure that we do not lose that charm. That is the most important part of what people see and get sold coming into our town. So we need to make sure we're protecting the downtown.
Okay, thank you all. I think June has her hand up.
June, go. Unmute yourself and go.
Okay. My question, well, actually, I have two. Regarding the sober homes and the reduction of overdoses, I'm not quite sure what that relationship is. I do know that we had a terrible problem with fake sober homes, just, taking money in and not making anyone sober. They were just drug exchanges. I know because I walked in one myself just to check it out. My former reporter was ticking inside of me. But the point is, these people are going to get the drugs somewhere else, even though perhaps it's more concentrated in a sober house. And along with that, we're still seeing, somebody mentioned the word panhandlers, more and more people with signs on the highway exits, and in other places as well. It is a tragedy, and it's very complicated. So the question first is, how many sober houses have gone or are gone, and what is there to replace them now or in the future to actually give people the treatment they need?
Good question.
I can start this time if you want.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Jake and June. This is an important issue. When I served on the commission, if there's one thing I had to pick out that I'm most proud of us as a commission, as a whole commission, for 3 years working on, for multiple years working on, was this issue. We worked not only as the commission, we worked with our Congresswoman, with Congresswoman Frankel. We worked with our state representatives, our state senators. Dave Ehrenberg, 100% deserves so much credit for where we got to. As a city, what we did was we actually hired a consultant in order to write land development regulations so that we could do it right, so that we could make our regulations so that there would be sober homes or halfway houses, but they would be controlled how many, they wouldn't be congregated, and this would hold up in court. And it was a great thing we did, but we can't take our eye off the ball because of the opiate. So because of the epidemic, what's going on right now with poverty and what's happening with the pandemic, it's something that's coming back. So
thank you. I really appreciate that.
it's a hard question to answer in a minute. Sorry.
No, but that
And I'm
was a
sure
great answer. Thank you.
everybody else here will chime in on it.
If it's okay, I'll chime in. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Start the clock. All right. So there was a point in time, and I have to tell you, I think that I stretch from the point at which there wasn't any problem with sober homes and it wasn't the number one issue all the way through to the finish, because I am the one who has that consistent 8 years of experience on this dais. But I can tell you, and I think that many of us would remember, we couldn't walk outside and not hear a siren ringing out, running
Yes.
to the next overdose. It was absolutely deafening. Thank
Yes.
you, June, for bringing that up. We no longer have that, and that's because of the regulations that we did change locally that Mitch Katz talked about, how we were able to get to that form of legislation. And that's what you have working for you. When we have a problem, we resolve the problem. And we did just that. Now, I want you to know that the sober homes are still here and they're operating. The
15
interesting thing is thank you, a good sober home, you would never really know it's there because it's working. And that's what it was happening before these bad guys came in and is now happening afterwards. So people are getting help and they are getting well and they are coming to Delray Beach. It's just that they're not ending up, drug addicts on our streets.
Adam,
You're muted.
you're muted.
I had a message, so I couldn't hit the unmute. Thank you.
Yeah.
All credit, in my view. Listen, the city's done a great job. We hired an outside attorney. She did a fabulous job. This has been an issue going back to 2006, 2007. The real estate crash allowed these operators to buy all these homes at a discounted rate and just shove kids in there. They're not sober homes. Those are flop houses.
Right.
I was fortunate enough that I served as an initial member on Dave Ehrenberg's Sober House Task Force. And I served that until it sunsetted, and I was on that board for 2 years. What happens in Florida, it's called the Florida Shuffle, where they get a kid, they get his insurance money, and they kick him out on the street. Many years ago, we passed an ordinance that you weren't allowed to do that. The problem is enforcement. We didn't have the code enforcement officers to do that. A couple of years ago, I proposed a $1,000 fee for any transient rental house in our city to go right to code enforcement. We couldn't get the support, but maybe we can going forward. The good news is the problem is getting better. The operators are getting better, and hopefully the issue is going down. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is getting better, and an outcropping of that incredible period of our history happened right next to me when a doctor who was a urine doctor for the sober houses was arrested in a 5 a.m. raid and charged with bilking Medicare out of $200 million. He had charged Medicare $600 million. So they caught $400 million in fraud. What I'd like to follow up on Mitch's statement and maybe change the subject a little bit. the same unified organization between the city, the county, the state, and the federal government is what we're going to need in order to help end this pandemic.
15 seconds.
You know, we've got to get the vaccines, and then we've got to get this cursed disease under control. Thanks.
Hey, we have Charles Schroth's hands up. David, if you want to go to him.
Okay. Charles, you can unmute yourself. Charles, you there?
Here we go.
Okay, we're unmuted.
Unmuted.
Price, thank you for bringing up the COVID-19. I'd like to direct this question to a person that I support and admire, Shelley Petrolia, who we worked with on the Haitian American Culture Day. Shelley, the friends of ours in Delray however, are very upset about the response we've had to COVID-19 here. And it starts with obviously the state and the county, but the municipalities thrown into, and your name gets tied to it. How do we answer people who are saying, you know, why can't we get vaccinations? Why are the regulations not being firmly dealt with in bars and hotels? How do we protect ourselves? What have you done? What should we be saying about it?
Thank you so much, Charles, for that question. And let me get into some of the things that we are doing and what we can't do. First of all, the city is only able to do what the governor allows us to do. So on a local level, we have lost local rule to be able to enforce mask wearing and also even social distancing in the downtown. We've asked the governor to, through a letter, to look at us as a different type of place that needs to have that rule restored to us so that we can make sure that we're enforcing it so that we can keep people safe. As to the COVID situation, the challenge of getting the vaccines, that's a challenge that is statewide, even nationally. However, the only way that we can really get that released is to lobby those that are above us, our state representative, our congresswoman, which we've done. And if somebody asks another question about that, I'd like to go into some of the things that the city is doing in order to be able to stand ready and be prepared for what's coming. Thank you.
Adam, go ahead.
You're muted.
And before I start, I get 30 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The mayor's correct. As a city, we are handcuffed by a guy named DeSantis. If you look what's going on in the state, DeSantis is taking care of Republican counties. Last week, my friend drove his mother to Ocala to get a vaccine at Publix. We had 200 vaccines available today for tomorrow. They went out in about 30 seconds.
That's right.
It's because of Governor DeSantis. Hopefully next week when our new President Biden takes office, that'll help things out. But you should direct everything to Governor DeSantis.
Any other, Mitch?
Just to concur with Commissioner Frankel said, I mean, and I actually looked at numbers today because I was very curious. We are at almost about 35% of the vaccines that have been sent to Florida have actually been distributed. So the vaccines are being sent here, but there's been no plan from the state to get them. I mean, to only give 200 to the city of Delray Beach is a crying shame. I mean, it needs to be done. I looked at states like West Virginia, they're at 100%. They get vaccines on a Sunday. By the following week, every single vaccine that is given to them is put in an arm. We're at 35%.
Okay. Julie has her hand raised. David?
Yep. Go, Julie.
Thank you all. Good evening. And so far, this is very thoughtful, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Mayor Petrolia, you wanted to elaborate on your last answer with respect to COVID, and I would like you to please do that. Thank you.
Very good. Just very briefly, I just wanted to let everybody know that we are also, we sent out a letter to procure a mobile unit for our disadvantaged neighborhoods. Just like we set up a pop-up for COVID testing, we're going to get a mobile unit into our disadvantaged neighborhoods so that we can reach out to them to make sure that they are getting the vaccinations in the future. And we stand ready with all of our paramedics in what are called pods. They're approved and they're called points of distribution. Our paramedics are ready to also go to the houses of people who basically are housebound and can't get out. So what we have done is we are ready on the local level. It's the state and federal level that has let us down once again. And I wish that I could say that's what I would tell you to take to the people. Make sure that they understand we're doing our job. We just need the vaccinations and we'll get it done.
Okay, it looks like we're out of
Wait, Adam.
question. No, June has her hand up again.
Adam's got his hand up.
Okay.
I just wanted to respond. I think it's very important. This is not campaign purposes. This is for everyone's information. This is a 5-0 consensus of the entire city commission. Our city government, our city manager, our city employees, we are all committed to providing the vaccine and all assistance we can, but our hands are totally tied and handcuffed right now. So forget about the campaign. We're all working together. And this is obviously the most important issue for everyone in our community right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam.
We got a few back up. We have somebody named Adam Frankel in the audience. Let's see what happens when I allow that one.
It's probably my mother.
It's a plant. It's a plant. We had a softball question.
Adam Frankel.
There's actually 5 Adam Frankels in the attendee list.
Yeah, no, Adam actually,
yeah, but he raised his hand.
He registered as, a registrant in addition. So,
right, but somebody using that account raised their hand. So
yeah,
I just want to see.
Okay. Danny Valdez has his hand up, and I'd love to hear from him.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let me. Okay. Danny, go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for this forum. I want to continue the discussion on COVID, and I agree with the mayor that your hands are tied. It's I have a lot of anger towards the governor because of where we are at this stage. Now, I don't know. I don't know what the city can do. I think I've read a little bit here and there about some ideas, but can the city of Delray do a stronger enforcement of COVID protocol, especially on Atlantic Avenue and in the establishments and gyms and so forth, because we are in such a dire situation. And if you go to Atlantic Avenue, there's just so much denial. And I don't know if the city has any kind of authority to enforce, stronger guidelines. So that is my question. Oh, and one more. And as I believe I read somewhere that someone threw an idea to the city about maybe closing Atlantic Avenue to open up the avenue to more patrons sitting in restaurant tables on the avenue, and preventing traffic maybe for 1 day, 2 days a week. I think that might be a good idea to get more people to socially distance when they go out. Anyway, those are my questions.
Anybody can answer? Is that Adam wants to answer?
This is, first of all, this is the real Adam Frankel. But in seriousness, Governor DeSantis, through executive order, removed our ability to do exactly what you said. We all, united as a city commission, want to do that. We did speak about closing Atlantic Avenue. My concern about that is bringing more people downtown because they'll feel safer and whatnot. my advice, and this is what I personally do. Listen, my parents don't go out. They only pick up things and go back to their homes. I think it's prudent for many people to do that. Some of the establishments I like going to, I wouldn't step foot in for the exact reasons you brought up. But until Governor DeSantis lets our local community enforce these things
15 seconds.
by executive order, we are not able to do. So hopefully we get the vaccines out, get everyone to take them and get back to normal. But I think we got some time for that.
If I could interject, we also have some time to start planning to send the governor home because, you know, Trump with table manners, and I think he's losing his table manners after what he did to the police raid on.
Oh, is that a person? Yeah.
Yeah. So any other responses to Danny? Shelley?
I don't want to monopolize the time. So, you know, if, you know, Price or Mitch want to jump in, please do so. We were asked about stronger guidelines. No, we're restricted from being able to do that. But I want to also just mention to you, I'm in touch with the administrator, the CEO of the hospitals here. And even though we have an increase in the incidence of COVID infection, they are not overwhelmed. And that's a good sign. And I think that has to do with the fact she believes that it's a large percentage of younger people are actually with the infection, and they're able to manage it without having to get admitted. So that's really important. As far as the closing down of the avenue, it was a suggestion that I made, but there was a really big pushback, especially by our restaurants and places of business downtown, because they felt like it was going to hurt their business. So we didn't go that route. It was more, and also the fact that we thought that it would probably be more of a collection of people coming into our town. So those are the points that I wanted to make. Mm-hmm.
We have June back.
June, yeah, has her hand up again. So
Just to clarify, first of all, thank you all for your aggressive actions trying to help our citizens get those vaccines. And we all understand what you're going through with this, Governor, and it's murderous. But my question is, maybe Mayor Petrolia can help me with this. Does it actually go to your authority to require masks wearing in public?
The answer would be no. Not to the mayor's authority at all. If you're asking specifically to me, no. This is a decision that's made by the commission. And but because of the home rule being swept away from us, we don't even have that as a commission to make that decision.
Wow.
Yeah.
Adam.
And that's the reality.
And to go a little further, the mayor's correct. The county has a mask order that people in Palm Beach County out in public are supposed to wear masks. But because of the executive order, we cannot enforce that. Private businesses can. If you go to a grocery store, if you want to go inside a Costco or a Publix, you have to wear masks. But simply walking on our streets where everyone should be wearing masks, and I see all my colleagues and I see the other gentlemen here, I see them out on the streets wearing their masks, acting prudent. We can have it, but we can't enforce it.
Gail, anyone else? Otherwise, Gail. Gail, go. Unmute yourself, Gail.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Gail Clark. I know I sound like a broken record and there's so many issues on the table that are very important. The water, of course, has kind of been taken care of, and the, no, it has. I think I'm drinking the water. It's good to me, and the pandemic. But I still have to ask Commissioner Frankel about what's always dear to my heart, why you voted against for having the sea grape archways cut the last 5 when 1,800 plus people here signed a petition asking for them to stay. I mean, there were only 5 left, and now you want to have those cut down. People that have been coming for years to see them, and there's only, they're short, they're attractive, and now here we are. You voted against it, and I just want to know why.
Well, hi, Gail. I haven't seen you at the beach in a while, so it's nice to talk to you. And let's be clear, I voted to trim them. So it's the opposite of what you just stated. I think on the north end and south end of the beach, the sea grapes are beautiful, they're healthy, and we have scientists and we have people that are far more knowledgeable about this than I am, and the BPOA taking a position that they think the sea grapes should be trimmed. Also, because of our homeless issues in our city, homeless men and women would use the protection of the higher sea grapes to urinate, defecate, and sleep. So I am for a cutting only to the north end, south end lengths. I think they're more healthy, and that's what the scientists recommended. So that's why I based my position. And also the online petition, no one said they're Delray Beach residents. Anyone can sign up. If 1,800 people came in to talk, that's a different story. Thanks.
Okay.
I could weigh in on this. You know, there's unfortunately there's nothing historic about these things. These sea grapes, they haven't been there for very long at all, maybe 20, 25 years. And my concern is that I think with the proper maintenance, they could have been protected. You could have had these weirs that gave you the aesthetic feel of going through a tunnel, but they weren't maintained, you know, and you've got to maintain them or it won't work. I would have favored a compromise to save some of them, but it's all really a question of maintenance.
15 seconds.
They've been properly maintained. We might have been able to save even more. Thanks.
Mitch.
Sure. So, you know, this issue of the sea grapes actually came up when I was on the commission previously. And the original was to, you know, pretty much chop them all down across. And I came up with a compromise. Listen, we're going to trim the ones, except, you know, most of the sea grapes, except keep a few of the archways. And again, they would still be trimmed, just not so drastically. And that was the key word, is compromise. And that's something as a commissioner, you know, you've got residents' interest, and you know, if you find one scientist says they need to be chopped down, you're going to find another scientist says that they shouldn't be. But there is compromise, you know, and that's one thing. Recently, my opponent sent an email saying how I don't compromise and I antagonize. Yet, you know, matter of fact, one of the biggest accusations that you could make against me is that I compromise too much. But sometimes compromise is how we get things done. And I think there's some solutions there. And I think Adam kind of just said it, is not chopping, but trimming and just coming up to the right height. So that you can still have that character, you can have them, but like Price said, they don't get out of hand.
Okay, Arlene has her hand up.
Yeah, but we have
David?
We have a written question from Deb Peters through Barbara Shaw. Is there a way to encourage police officers to model the wearing of masks? And I'll preface this by saying I was at the tennis tournament in town, and the cops were in there to help assist the ushers in getting people to wear masks. But there were 2 police officers outside of the stadium who refused to wear them. So it wasn't exactly a great role model. So with that, somebody want to add it? Is there a way? Yeah.
Adam. David, thank you for the question. As far as I know, all our first responders, whether it be police, EMTs, fire, they're wearing masks. I was at the tennis tournament every day, and I think the event organizer, he did an amazing job with safety. There was hand sanitizer everywhere. Everyone was distanced. When I was eating food, and if I didn't have a mask on, I'd be reminded, even when you're chewing your food, you have to put your mask on. I think that was just a sporadic thing that you saw, David, because when I was there, I did see the police. I'm not saying what happened didn't happen. I'm sure it did. However, it's my understanding through order of the chief of police, they are supposed to be wearing their masks even outside.
Excellent. I was actually one of the ushers, and we were vicious about making people wear their masks to the point where they were accusing us of being uncivil.
You guys did a great job, and I actually saw a couple of people thrown out for not doing it. Yeah.
Yes, the police threw them out after we asked. Okay.
Joe Feldman has a question, and that's a good one. I didn't realize that Kings Point had the vaccines until I was driving my wife over to a medical center by there, and I saw this huge backup. And I said, geez, I wonder if they've got vaccines there. And sure enough, they did. And from what I read, they actually weren't very strict about enforcing who went in and got the vaccines. So her question was, how did they get them at Kings Point?
Well,
Shelley,
that was.
yeah.
I was going to say that was due to DeSantis. DeSantis came down, did his dog and pony show at the at Kings Point, and basically supplied them. And I'm going to tell you, they can't be selective as to who they're giving them to, just like we cannot be. So when we're doing the 200, we cannot say it's only for the residents of Delray Beach, because this is not our program, and it's required for us to be able to accept anybody as long as they're within the parameters of that 65-year age and also healthcare worker. So I've heard of people actually walking right off of playing golf, walking in and getting a vaccine. Now that just depends on whether or not they've got them available at the time, but I'm hearing that every once in a while people are getting them. But it is hard to get into, into the community because it's gated.
Adam.
And as the mayor said, Governor DeSantis had that big press conference and whatever. The issue I have, and I think as Democrats we all do, why does Palm Beach have a supply of vaccines only for their residents? I'm sure it has nothing to do with Mr. Trump and Mar-a-Lago, but to me, that's not right. And as the mayor said, we had vaccines and it was open to wherever you lived. You know, if you were able to sign up, you're able to get it. But unlike Palm Beach, that's the program we're running.
Gail, Joe, and Arlene, David.
Gail, go.
I could just ask.
Sorry, Mitch, go ahead.
Actually, if I ask Mayor Petroli and Commissioner Frankel, since you're on the commission, Boca gave out 200 shots today, and I actually looked at their site, and theirs said you had to be Boca residents and you had to bring a proof that you lived in the city of Boca Raton in order to get one of those 200. It was on their form, and they used the same site that Delray used, but it was a different requirements, and they did say you had to bring a water bill or something and prove that you lived in the city. So you might want to check that, or make sure they're following the rules that you have to.
Shelley, you want to respond to that?
I do. I just want you to understand that we're following the rules, and obviously they're not. And there are municipalities that sometimes will just make their own decisions and then suffer the consequences. Delray Beach was experiencing that when Boca was closing down their beaches prior to our emergency management team allowing us to close down beaches when COVID was just the pandemic was just happening. So there are those that go off the path. There you go.
Gail, you're on.
Well, thank you. And you maybe answered my question back maybe to the mayor, but today when I had a friend with an elderly, rather ill husband go on. I mean, she was like there with her button pushing at 10 o'clock. I mean, she kept doing it for hours and it kept going, nothing available till the end of January, February, March, going into the summer. And how is the next step for anyone to try to go? Because you go on there and it's so disheartening because in 30 seconds, it looks like everything was just gone. Yeah. So what would someone do? Is there someone that can drive? I think she heard that somewhere in Jupiter or some other places, maybe even in Palm Beach, like Adam said, it was easier to do, or further west. What does someone have to do now? Anybody?
Gail, this is not the greatest answer, but I'm going to give it to you. I would recommend going on the Publix website and finding a place in Central Ohio, Republican County, go to a Publix where they have appointments that you can book. My friend went to Ocala. What's that? A 3.5-hour drive? But he was able to take his mother to a Publix and an appointment, in and out, and they drove back.
You're saying a Publix somewhere in North Florida or something?
Yeah, there's many Publix stores in Central and Northern Florida. that have vaccines, the Republican counties, and they were afforded this. Unfortunately, because we're Democratic counties in Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade, we're just not getting the vaccines like they are.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that's scary. It really is.
It's monstrous. That's what it is.
Well, maybe we can hope that President-elect Biden's 1.9 trillion stimulus plan / vaccine will wend its way to Democratic counties.
Yeah.
And we'll get it. But it's probably the most incredible undertaking since World War II in moving supplies around. It's not an easy thing to do.
If I can also just kind of step in real quick here, and somebody said, what's the next steps? Just like we had a shortage of the testing kits for COVID, we're seeing that right now. So if everybody can just be patient, what's going to end up happening more likely is that we're going to start seeing a greater and greater amount coming in, and more of an ability for everybody to be able to get to that point where it's not even an issue anymore. So I know right now, because of the fact that it's hard to get, everybody's trying to get it, but if we relax a little bit, just continue with our COVID protocol, I think that we'll find that it's going to resolve itself in a short period of time. And hopefully that'll be Biden's gift to all of us.
And we have a bunch more hands raised,
I'm
David.
going to jump to Kelly. I'm going to jump to people who haven't asked yet, and then we'll come back.
Kelly and Barbara and Nancy.
Kelly, you're on mute, please.
I'm sorry, I actually don't have a question.
Oh,
Go ahead to the next one.
Okay.
Nancy has a question.
That's
Chad.
Nancy.
Yeah,
So,
unmute Nancy.
Okay. Nancy, go.
This is purely informational. I sent an email to, the thing that's been in the papers, the CHD feedback, and I got an answer today. I sent it at the end of December, and they called me today. So I was like really despairing. So I just want people to know that, really it was only 2 weeks. It felt like 200 weeks, but I just wanted people to hear something encouraging.
That is encouraging.
Yeah.
I sent it twice and I've not heard back, but I think it was less than 2 weeks ago I sent it. So
you'll probably hear really soon based on, because for me, it was about 2 weeks.
Wow, that's great.
That's the Palm Beach one?
Yeah, that's the one that's been in all the newspapers.
Email us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Nancy.
Barbara. Barbara hasn't spoken, right?
Right.
Barbara.
Unmute. Okay. I just want to agree with Mayor Petrolia that we need to just kind of sit tight and relax and follow the protocols, because I was on my computer this morning at 9:59. As soon as it turned to 10 o'clock, I clicked and it said no appointments available.
Yep.
But I was at our local Publix today at Military and Atlantic, and I asked them at the pharmacy if they knew anything, and she said they were informed they would be getting vaccinations. She had no idea when. So we just need to keep following the protocols, be smart, be safe, and it'll happen.
Thank you. Okay, we're back to Joe.
I just wanted to say that I was another one of those crazy people that waited, had my hand on my computer. And for 15 minutes, I tried to get in this morning at 10 o'clock. It's just so discouraging. I understand about, sitting tight, but we're still panicking about the damn, pardon me, pandemic, about getting it. It's just really frustrating that when you hear that some people have gotten in by hook or crook, and the crook part is very, very disconcerting.
And I did read a very interesting letter in one of the papers that said, hey, soon you calm down, let the essential people get it first. the people who are working in stores and stuff, make sure they get it, that they have to be in contact with everyone. So I can wait another day,
Yeah.
but I was
Yeah,
hoping
that's
to go
good. I
at
would
6
too.
o'clock
Yeah,
tomorrow. Arlene, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Just a little thing about the Kings Point thing. I do some shopping for a woman that's housebound in Kings Point. And she called me because a woman came by to see if she wanted the vaccine. I said, yes. So she called me for my opinion. I said, if it was me, yes. And she signed up for an appointment the next day and got it. So that part's good. My concern right now to all of you is about the homeless people that may be in Delray. How many are there? How are they being cared for? Adam maybe remember about how they might be urinating, sleeping, and pooping in the sea grapes. What are we doing with our homeless and how many are there?
I'll chime in if
yeah.
I'll chime in if no one is. Arlene, great question. Our city, and it might be the only city in Palm Beach County, we have a homeless advocate who does a great job. She's under our police department. She goes out, she offers services, food, a place to stay. The issue we have is not the ones that will accept the assistance. We have many that just don't want to. There are many things in the city of Delray that makes it easy for those that want to stay on the street, that have mental health issues, that have alcohol and or drug issues, to just live on the streets and do what they're doing. And that's having a major effect in our downtown, not only for our residents, but the people that are visiting our city. So as a city, we are doing everything we can, having an advocate and trying to provide these services. The problem is not everyone wants to accept it.
The one thing I do, and it's on a very small scale, but there's usually 1 or 2 homeless people outside of the Publix where I shop. And I'm not going to give them any money, but I'll go in and give them some food. And most of them are grateful. And one guy though, he said, "I don't want that kind of a sandwich. Go back and give me a different." I bought him a Coke, and he didn't want that Coke. He wanted a Diet Coke. I said, "Okay, beggars can be choosers, I guess." But humor aside, it's a serious problem, and I wish I had. Every time I wanted to refer him to the homeless advocate, that you mentioned, Adam, and I wish her cards were all over town. Thank you.
Mitch.
Again, that was another thing that we did when I was on the commission previously. I'm very proud of. We worked together with our police chief to add that position, and something that was never, nothing in the budget before, and having, the fortitude of the commission working together with our police department in creative ways to help. Something else too, we have a lot of community organizations. I'm very involved in Temple Sinai here in Delray Beach. We have a committee that every week puts together from now, I think it's 3 years or 4 years, peanut butter sandwiches, and goes to Veterans Park every single Sunday afternoon. We bring socks, underwear, clothes, first aid, things like that, as well as the sandwiches and water and things like that. But they're out there, and one thing what I did was also mention, because you sometimes spark up some conversations. So I've done it a couple times, is really trying to get them in tune with the advocate. The problem is most of them don't want the help. They just want the sandwich or they want the socks or what have you. But there are a lot of organizations, and our temple's just one of many that are doing things like that. So there is a lot of good people in our community that do help out.
Okay, if no one else wants to jump in, June has her hand up again. And Jill hasn't spoken. I'm thinking we should probably take, maybe 3 or 4 more questions and then move on to the closing. So if you have questions, now's the time to raise your hand. David, you want to unmute Jill?
Allowed to talk is not available because Jill is using an older version of Zoom. So wait a minute, Jill, we have a workaround for that. I'm going to make you a panelist. You'll be rejoining as a panelist
There we go.
with any luck.
Yeah, she's there. Okay. You have to
That's cool.
unmute,
That's one
though.
way to get people to be
Yeah.
viewed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's sort of off the track, but I have a question. When I get my stimulus check, I want to contribute it to a food bank in Delray. But I don't know, can somebody point me in the right direction of who to call, who to talk to?
Shelley.
I would tell you to get in touch with Ezra Craig. He is somebody in our town that basically would be able to steer you in the right direction and make sure that whatever checks you're willing to depart with would go to an absolute a good cause.
I appreciate it. How would I get in touch with him?
You know, you could probably just call up our city, even just get into the city, the mayor's office and speak with Dolores Rangel, 243-7010, and ask her to get the information for you for Ezra, E-Z-R-A, Craig, K-R-E-I-G, I believe it is.
Okay, and that was 243?
7010.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And if you want to call him directly, it's 954-260-8838.
Okay. We have David.
But in all seriousness, the mayor's
He'll
right.
appreciate
He's
you
the best
giving
guy.
out his number on the session there, I'm sure.
For a
Listen, if
donation,
I
I'm
tried
sure
to
he
get it
will.
off my phone, I'm telling you, I would have disappeared and I would have never been able to find my way back. So thank goodness we've got these young guys on here that can do more than one thing on their phone at a time.
Serious note, Ezra's the right guy. He's the best.
Okay,
Sure.
David.
David, yeah. Have to unmute, David. Here we go.
Good evening. I have a question directed at Mitch. I'm wondering if you could address Brian Boylston's ethics violation for us.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So, you know, it's interesting, as Commissioner Boylston holds a distinct title as the first commissioner ever in the history of the city to actually plead guilty, take a fine for a self-dealing ethics charge in the state of Florida. Actually, he was charged with two. One, he got a slap on the wrist, and the other one, he was fined. Most people would resign. He thinks that, you know, it wasn't his fault. That, you know, sounds familiar, almost like our president. So it's never their fault when they do things that are not ethical. But, you know, sometimes you have to be willing to take responsibility. Public servants are elected to serve the public and not themselves and not their friends.
15 seconds.
And that's not what we've seen from Commissioner Boylston. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run, because I think we need a better choice. You know, I was hoping that he would not, because like I said, I think that we need, you know, he has a very, you know, very good business, and he should be able to promote it, but not from his seat.
Anyone else want to comment on that before we've got Danny Valdez back again and Gail?
June.
Okay, David?
Danny?
Okay, hi. There's been little discussion tonight on issues regarding residents in the African-American neighborhood. The leaders of quote unquote the set feel there's a total disconnect between city government and their neighborhood known as the set. Can you comment on this? Anyone, please? Thank you.
Shelley?
I'll take a strike at it. First of all, I think that there's different people in the neighborhoods that we're talking about, and I think a very loud voice is being heard. But I think that if you go out and you really talk to many people in the African American neighborhoods, they're very, very pleased with some of the things that we are doing over there. For 30 years, we were promising that we were going to be coming over and doing their streets and their sidewalks and their alleys and lighting and things like this. And we're actually doing that. We're also bringing in affordable housing. We brought in, rent controlled places to do business so that basically the minority businesses can stay in business. And by the way, we've forgiven that rent during the COVID time frame so that they would be able to have a better chance. So I think that, it's who you're really speaking to, and it's not the overall community as a whole. It's not what I'm hearing anyway.
Yeah, I've been working with Black residents out in the north and southwest neighborhoods for the last 3 or 4 years now. And there's diversity within the Black community. And a lot of the people I work with and are helping me better the conditions are, they say the set doesn't represent them, so it's, it's not that no one's recognizing the set. It's just that there are competing interests, and I do think it's imperative that the CRA do something about the food desert, and I'm hoping we can really move this BH3 thing along, which would be the first, the second really of time and material to the neighborhood.
Adam.
Thank you. Both the candidates that spoke before me are absolutely correct. I think the problem is there's a big divide in the Northwest, Southwest neighborhoods. There's a lot of competing interests. I think as a city commission and also as a CRA, we've done amazing things. If you look at Caesar's Barbecue, the support we gave them, it took them a couple of years to open up, but we absolutely did everything we can. And look, they're thriving right now. They're one of the pandemic success stories. And that was through collaboration of city efforts. So there's a divide. I'm not an expert about it, but we definitely know it exists.
Okay. You want June and then Gail? You're muted, Dave.
Yeah, there was something in the chat about the rule about having only Democrats able to be here. That's not a club rule. That's at least a county-wide and maybe a statewide.
FDP, yeah.
That Democratic clubs can only have Democrats, so to speak. So you have to go higher than us to get that one changed. Okay, where are we?
We'd be happy to have people change their registration and add more Democrats.
Okay, so we're back to June. June?
Okay, quickly, be very careful about getting your vaccines in other counties, especially those that are far away. You may not be able to get the follow-up vaccine that you need on a timely basis. My next door neighbor, who's a physician, is trying to warn everybody about this. If you don't get the follow-up vaccine at the, whatever it is, 27 days, 28 days, and they're all different, Moderna and Pfizer and so forth, then you've wasted the first one. At least that's as much as the science knows now. So be awfully careful about jumping borders to get it. You may just be wasting your time.
Okay.
I'm looking in the chat and I see Nancy had a comment and I was looking to see, because Ryan was on before, he doesn't seem to be on anymore. Is that correct? Her comment was he ought to be able to be given a chance to respond. And even though we can't have him as a panelist tonight, if he were here, I'd like to unmute him, but he's not here. So I don't know if Nancy wants to say something. If not, we'll just move on to the two closing questions.
Well, wait. We have From Chris, for Kelly or Shelley, I'm looking for a service project for Monday, January 18th, National Day of Service. Is anything going on in Delray? I've always wanted to participate in a project.
I couldn't hear what you said, so.
Okay, let's try that again.
Yeah.
It's from Chris, it's in the chat. I'm looking for a service project for Monday, January 18th, the National Day of Service. Is anything going on in Delray? I've always wanted to participate in a project. So if anybody knows.
At this point, I would have to tell you no, basically because we've stopped any kind of congregating due to the virus. So any kind of service type projects are very few and far between. City's not sponsoring them. Just even to do our annual sending the packages to overseas to our servicemen, it was a very, very limited number of people, and the way that they did it was extreme. It was a much spaced out type of a situation, very controlled. So the city is not sponsoring anything at this time that I'm aware of anyway, unless somebody else knows of something.
Okay, Nancy had a comment, and I was going to do this reminder too about the Spady brunch for MLK Day. That's, I think, on Monday, the 18th. Is that correct, Nancy?
10 a.m. on that date.
Yeah, it's a remote brunch though, right?
Who are we waiting for?
Okay, I have an email where to register. I don't know if everyone on this call has it. Is there a way to send it out afterwards, David? I can just forward it to the participants tonight, the notice about the Spady brunch.
I think we can do that. I think we can send out a post.
Okay, so we'll do that afterwards.
Well, we can send it out to everybody anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Send it out to the whole club.
Okay, so.
You don't forget about the Spady brunch there, folks. Okay.
Now, are there any hands up? I don't see it.
Go to the Spady Museum, I think that's Spady Museum Facebook page, and you will find the link for MLK Day.
Okay. All right, so should we move on to the closing? I don't see any other questions. Why don't we do it in the reverse order from the opening, which I guess would be then Price,
I lead off.
Mitch, Adam, and the mayor closing.
Yeah, I just want to send my thanks to the Democratic Club of Delray Beach for putting this together. And I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my views and opinions. People have asked me for years to run. I've been preparing myself for that, and I'm ready to run and I'm ready to serve. Thank you very much.
Who's next?
Am I next?
Sure. Michael, you muted.
Yeah, you're next, Mitch.
Okay, perfect. Again, thank you all. This was really great, especially, during a pandemic and trying to put something like this together is not easy. And to be able to just open up the questions and have such thoughtful, questions and such important questions from the members, without anything scripted. I mean, I'm really impressed the way the club has put this together, especially under these circumstances. So thank you for what you did tonight. I just want to reiterate, how important it is that we support a person, lifelong Democrat that wants to serve the city once again. In closing, the city needs to put a higher priority on the issues that affect all of us: the traffic, sea level rise, our public schools, education. And it is concerning about my opponent's integrity, and we've got to take that into consideration. Again, thank you all. I'm looking forward to meeting you once we get back to and seeing you again, once we get back to seeing each other in person again. And remember, March 9th, and now is the time as the Delray Democratic Club to work together to get the word out that people need to vote. Thank you.
Adam, you want to unmute?
Yes, thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, Delray Democratic Club. I've been attending some of your meetings since Sid Soloway was the president, Sam Lander, Jay Slavin. I know John Ramos had a big impact on this club. I've worked with DEC members Mark Allen Siegel and Terry Rizzo throughout the years. My experience started in Palm Beach County in 2000, where I was a volunteer attorney for the Al Gore campaign. And it goes up through all the presidential races. Most recently, working with the Biden campaign, I worked closely with Larry Raskey, who is one of President-elect Biden's very close friends. Unfortunately, he passed away from COVID in early last year. I have been endorsed by our firefighter unions, our police unions, the Human Rights Council here with Rand Hawk in Palm Beach County, and previously the AFL-CIO with Pat Emmerich. I've also been supported by 5 former mayors, 3 current South County commissioners, and 3 current Democratic constitutional officers. Through my 20 years of experience here in Palm Beach County, I've worked on many campaigns. Bert Aronson, Shelley Vanna, Dave Ehrenberg, Joe Abruzzo, Kevin Rader, Maria Sachs, Rick Bradshaw, Bill Nelson, Ron Klein, and Robert Wexler. You can ask about Democrats. Please feel free to ask any of them. I've worked tirelessly to work for Democrats, elect Democrats, and support Democrats in this county for over 20 years. That's the kind of Democrat I am. So respectfully, I ask for your vote. One thing I like about Mr. Patton, he is the most civil gentleman in the world. We are going to have a civil campaign, and that's what I really enjoy about him. For historic purposes, he is far better than me, and that's why I appointed him to the Historic Preservation Board last year. So again, please consider voting for me March 9th, and I thank you very much, everyone, tonight.
Okay, great. I guess I get to bring it home. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for being here and for allowing us to participate in this great forum. I'm only looking for one endorsement, and that's yours. Basically, everybody here knows who I am. I've been around probably, as far as consistently longer than anybody else on the panel. I've been here for 8 years and served as the people's mayor. But this is meant to really speak to the Democrats. I want you to make no mistake about it. Delray is under attack. It's no different than what we're seeing at a national level of politics. There's false information being fed to persuade a population to vote against its own benefit. My opponent is not knocking on doors. She has her more polished and knowledgeable husband doing it for her. Okay, that's the state representative. And he has no issue in spreading lies at each doorstep in order to give his bride a better chance at the Delray dynasty they both seek. I know this because I'm knocking on doors and I'm hearing it unsolicited by those that he's already met. They are not above lying. They did that, or he did that, by talking about defunding the police back when he was running. That was an absolute outright lie that he waged against the city and myself. He's politicizing issues, and he's using psychological fakes by peppering lawns with unauthorized signage to convince an unknowing voter that he is the best. It's not her that's running. I'm running against him. Trust me when I tell you that this is what's going on. So I just want to make sure that that everybody understands what we have to do. We've got to mobilize. We have to join ranks. We have to stand strong. You may know, you may have a new mayor in March, and it's a mayor without experience. And that's not something that I think that this town can afford. I have the experience to carry forward for the next 3 years. And I hope that I've earned your vote as mayor to lead the city for the next 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you all.
Thank you, candidates. This was great. And as Adam said, I think pretty civil. Last year, we had it at Pompey Park, and let's just say it was less civil that time. So I guess that's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Keep in
Good
mind,
night,
I just
everyone.
realized that I've got FDR looking over my shoulder here, so we're all in good hands.
Yeah, well, read about FDR in the New Delray Democrat. just came out. I'm hoping we go from FDR to JRB because he has, it could be his moment. Okay. Good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.